Welcome to our third class already, right? On lymphatics. It's amazing how time flies. So this month is our month to work with our lymphatic system, which means we're also working with our immunity. We're really just dealing with so many wonderful things in our body when we take the time to pay attention to how this rather miraculous fluid moves through us. So we've been having these conversations for the last couple of weeks. I'll repeat quite a bit of it for anyone who wasn't there, but also because it's good, right? To hear the same thing over again, because you never know what lands when. And so I truly believe that repetition can be a great thing. So welcome to everybody who has popped in. For those of you who are new, there might be more than one. We always start with an opening centering, and for that I invite all of you to make a decision about how you would like to place your body. So you always have choices, of course, and two great options are to find a seat either on the floor or on a chair. So you don't have to be on the floor if you don't want to be. If you do sit on the floor or even on a chair, sit in a way so that your spine can be in its natural curves. And if you're on the floor, that usually means that you need to have some kind of lift under your seat, because for most of us, especially in the Western world, when we sit all the way down on the floor like this, we kind of have a tendency after a while to slouch. But if we just take a block or a stack of books, a thick phone book, then you can see there's a lot more ease in how our body can rise up and sit. The same is true on a chair. You want to have your feet not reaching for the floor. So if you feel like to get your feet on the ground, you kind of have to slump a little bit. Put something under your feet. Wendy, I think you might be not on mute. Yeah, no worries. If you are lying down on the floor, then it's really helpful to have a blanket under the head, reaching all the way down to the upper spine, and perhaps to roll a blanket, if you have one, or to take a small pillow or something to bring it under the knees, so that when you lie down, you have a little bit of the lift under the knees, which brings a little bit of a crease into the groins. It releases tension out of your hip joint. But the most important thing is that it releases tension out of your low back. And so if you have back issues, that's a really kind thing to do for your body. So be discerning about how you settle yourself in, and sorry to take so much time, but it really is helpful to pay attention to this, and we'll do quite a few things potentially seated today. So there you have it. So settle yourself in, whatever you have chosen, and invite yourself to arrive in this moment. That can mean a lot of different things for everyone. And so just see if there's a way that works for you. Maybe it means you pay attention to how you're settling your body, either into the seat or the lying down position. Maybe it means that you are checking in with yourself to see how you would like to place your eyes. They could be open, they could be closed, they could be at half-mast. Maybe you find a soft gaze somewhere ahead of you. You also might help yourself arrive with discernment by making a conscious decision about how you place your hands. Maybe palms facing up invites inspiration. Palms at the heart might mean introspection. Just notice what is unfolding for you in this moment and how this affects how you might like to place body, eyes, hands. as you're beginning to settle into the here and now, begin to scan inward into your physical being, just allowing whatever sensation is present to reach your awareness. You don't have to go out looking for things. You're simply opening your awareness, your heart, to what is already present in your body. When we scan our body, we never have to worry that we're creating things. Even if there is something that suddenly comes to your awareness that you didn't realize was there before, it was just not in your awareness, but it still already affected you. And so this moment of scanning can be very helpful in just noticing how our body is sensing itself in the present moment. It's an opportunity then perhaps to meet those sensations with compassion, with kindness, even if not all of these sensations are pleasant, even if they are challenging. And as you scan into your physical being, you might begin to notice that you are at the same time becoming aware of your breathing. Your body and your breath, of course, are absolutely interdependent and very collaborative with one another. Every breath you take has a commensurate movement and resonance in your body. And so perhaps as you continue to scan inward, you can begin to notice this dance between breath and body. The gentle expansion perhaps in your body as the breath travels in. And perhaps the gentle drawing inward as the breath travels out. Or perhaps you notice the coolness of the inhalation in your nostrils, in your throat, as you draw breath in. And perhaps you notice the warmth of the exhalation as you breathe out. Or maybe you notice something altogether different about your breath. Perhaps its energy, its vibration, its pulsation, the sense of life that moves through you. And as you are allowing your body and your breath to reach your awareness in this way, you might begin to notice that they are also dancing with your mind, that there may be stories in the background or foreground that are coming from your thoughts, your feelings. Or maybe there's a certain quietude in your mind that reflects the quietude of body and breath. No matter what is unfolding, you might become aware that body, breath, and mind are entirely interdependent, co-arising, co-evolving, co-regulating. When we bring sad feelings to our mat, our breath becomes sad. When we feel angry in some context, our breath becomes angry. And our body follows suit. While we look at these layers of our human experience separately, or in sequence, I should say, they are always together, collaborating, cooperating, working together to help you have that experience that is uniquely you in this unique moment that leaves as quickly as it came. And as you ponder this collaboration of body, breath, and mind, you may also begin to ponder the miracle that it is that you can be present for body, breath, and mind, and yet fully aware. This is yet another layer of your human experience. This is your deeper wisdom, your deeper intelligence that always takes in information from all these layers, combines them with what you experience in your relationships, in your communities, in every moment of your life, always putting information together, creating meaning, and from there making decisions, allowing you to become discerning, to make new choices, to learn new things. As I like to say, to learn, unlearn, and relearn. This is quite a miraculous capacity of the human brain, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And it can be a great source of joy because it allows us to recognize that we are always embedded in a greater web of life, always part of a greater whole, always part of a greater community. Just like this community that is sitting here together today, marveling about these 5 layers of our experience, and tuning in particular today to how our lymphatic system collaborates with the immune system, the musculoskeletal system, connective tissue, the cardiovascular system, to contribute to our health, our healing, how it contributes to us being nourished in all of these layers, in body, breath, mind. And so take another moment or two to really sense into this profound pulsation of life that moves through you, physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally, relationally. And then if it suits you, perhaps you draw your hands to your heart as you bow your head to your heart, to invite an intention for your time on the mat today. An intention could be a simple word or a phrase, something like cultivating peace, or whatever it is that comes to your awareness from your wise inner self. But it could also be just an image or a felt sense, something wordless. And it's something that will guide your practice in the background of your awareness. You don't have to hang on to that intention or force that intention or make something happen or invite a particular outcome. You simply hold somewhere in your heart this meaning that you're bringing to the mat. And if an intention did arise for you, you might choose to use your next inhalation to draw that meaning into your heart. To let it settle there, resting there. And you might also choose to send that intention silently outward into your community, inviting it to spread its wings there as well. Not with force, but just as a gift, as an offering. And then whenever you feel ready, you can release your hands if they were lifted. You can rise to a seat if you are on your back. You can open your eyes if they were closed and lift your gaze if it was lowered. And welcome to everyone who came in during the opening centering. It's lovely to have you. So we are continuing our journey into the lymphatic system, and for the newbies, um, we are working very specifically on moving lymphatic fluid through the entirety of our body this month. Now we do this always. Whenever we move, whenever we breathe, we are activating our lymphatic system. But when we do it very deliberately in a practice such as this one, we can have a certain sequence to how we move that actually really facilitates sort of the natural flow of our lymphatic fluid. And one way that we start with that is by paying attention to the lymph nodes or the region of the lymphatic system around our collarbones, around our clavicles. Our lymphatic fluid collects from the periphery and moves inward toward the heart all day long. It's a one-way system. It can only move toward the heart. So regardless of where it comes from, whether it's your big toe or the top of your scalp, all the fluid moves toward the heart. And fluid moves toward low pressure. And so we try to clear the lymphatic channels in this region of the collarbones to create low pressure here so that all the fluid from everywhere else in the body will be naturally drawing toward the heart through these vessels called lymphatic vessels. And these collecting ducts called the thoracic duct, and then the lymphatic fluid moves into the subclavian veins, which are the veins along your collarbones. And so for those of you who are newer, I'll come a little bit closer and just show what I've been doing here with my hands. It hasn't been random, and you might see that some of the folks who've been here a while have started doing this too. We are gently using our fingers to just clear through this region of the collarbones. You might have a couple fingers below, a couple fingers above. And if you can work directly on skin, this will be a lot more effective. And it's a very gentle just movement across the skin toward the subclavian veins, which ultimately will move this fluid into the blood. You could also gently tap on your skin. The reason we are very gentle with this is that your lymphatic system has tiny, tiny capillaries, just like your arteries and your veins have tiny, tiny capillaries. And those can be sensitive, and we don't want to aggravate them. We just want to stimulate them to move fluid out of this region around the clavicles toward the heart, which is slightly on your left side. You could also bring your fingertips into that little depression right above the collarbone, the clavicle, and then very gently begin to, shrug your shoulders up and release your shoulders down. This is not a big movement, but feel under your fingertips what's happening there. Now you don't even have to exert pressure. Your fingertips are there for collecting data, for sort of the little conduits for your curiosity to just notice what's happening. When you shrug your shoulders up, you'll feel a lot of movement in this region around the clavicles. You could place the fingers below too, and you'll notice there's a lot of movement below as well. So all these lymphatic vessels here and the many, many nodes that are in this region, lymph nodes, are getting stimulated. If you don't like having your arms up, you don't need them there, because the movement now of the lymphatic fluid is happening through the movement of your shoulders. If you'd like, you could add a little bit of shoulder circling, and you'll feel a different sort of movement here. You could keep your hands there if you would like to feel what this changes when you add the shoulder movement. You know, we have interoception, which means we can feel ourselves from the inside out. But sometimes that's hard to do, and then we can use our fingers to add exteroception, where we also can feel some of these things from the outside in. The next place that we want to clear after this region of the collarbones is the region of the neck. And so you could also take your spot fingers again and bring a couple fingers ahead of the ears gently stroke this region to invite the fluid now to drain from your head toward this same region. And this will be the drill all day. It's been the drill for 2 weeks now, always moving toward the heart, right? You could also bring the hands behind the ears to the base of the skull, through the neck, and forward toward those collarbones again. The entire head region drains downward through the neck. The right half drains to the right, the left half of your head drains to the left, and so the right half goes into the right subclavian vein and the left into the left. So, this happens at night too. You could even just gently brush through your face. There's a whole system for moving lymph through your face that we're not going to go into, but supposedly it helps remove wrinkles and moves fluid and is supposed to really help. I have no idea if that's true. There's like a whole little cottage industry around moving lymph fluid through your face. Yeah, and then just take a couple more shoulder circles. I'll move back a little bit again now. And begin to add a little bit of neck movement here. You could coordinate this in some interesting way for you. So maybe you bring your head to the left for a few moments, and then with an inhale you bring it forward, and with an exhale turn it to the other side, and just see if your brain can coordinate this combination of shoulder rolling and neck moving. By now some of you know I'm a big fan of trying to do these strange combinations of small movements, because it's a really great way of also training your brain, of sort of synchronizing these movements that aren't often synchronized. And so just play with that for a moment. Continue the shoulder circles as you also turn the head right and left. And if you get completely confused and out of sync, you can do one or the other. Or you can just laugh and try again. That's part of yoga too. And then let the head come to stillness, let the shoulders come to stillness. And take a moment and sense now into this region of your body from the inside out, just to notice if there is more of a sense of movement, a sense of well-being that might flow through this region. Sometimes we can imagine that feeling if we don't quite have it on a physical level. And then slightly tuck the chin downward. You can use your finger as a prompt. And then draw the head back. We do this to bring the head in line with the spine. And we did this last week too, but we're going to do it again. You're going to look to the left ceiling with your eyes, and at the same time draw your left ear up there too. So you look up to the left toward your ceiling and draw the left ear up. The right ear moves toward the right shoulder. Move the eyes before you move the head. And the next time you exhale, turn the eyes back down to the floor and then bring the head into its starting position. Reset, so tuck and draw back. And don't hurry into the other side. Be very mindful. Look to the upper right first, and then as you exhale, let the right ear follow the gaze as the right ear draws toward the ceiling. Take maybe a couple rounds of breath here, and then with your next inhalation, look toward the floor, and then bring the head upright. And then do this one more time with your breath to each side. Just one breath, resetting in between. So tuck the chin, draw the head back, then look up to the left, draw the left ear toward the sky, the ceiling. With the inhale, you'll return. You'll take a whole round of breath with the head upright so that you can reset. And then look to the right when you're ready, and with an exhale, draw the right ear up. Wait for an inhale to bring the head upright. And then tune into what you might feel in the sides of the neck. Notice if there's any sort of sense of movement, of feeling more nourished, feeling a little bit more life in that region. And then you're going to do the same thing again. We'll start to the left again. So reset and look up to the ceiling. Drop the left ear down. And then this time, take the left hand and bring it to the right side of the neck. And very gently begin, maybe with those Spock fingers, to draw along the right side of the neck. Just giving yourself a little bit of a gentle stroking alongside the neck. This might feel very differently from when you did it when the head was in its upright position. You may feel a tightness here in your neck. You could then also draw some gentle circles and draw the hand across to the heart. A couple more times. And then with your next inhalation, you can lift the head. Settle the head in while you sense into that right side. And then whenever you are ready, let the eyes wander up toward the ceiling as the right ear then drops toward the right, and the left ear reaches up for the sky. I think I may have said this the wrong way earlier. Yeah, anyway, sorry. Do as I do, not as I say, because I confuse right and left all the time. And then reach the opposite hand to the opposite side of the neck. Give yourself these gentle little rubs. Notice if there's a difference in the two sides of your neck, if one side feels tighter. Be extra gentle where there is tension. Meet any tension or unpleasantness with compassion. This is not tension you're creating right now. If it's present, it's tension that you probably carry in this part of your body all the time. And when you are next inhaling, you can bring the head back to center and once again sense into the sides of your neck. There may be quite a profound shift, or there may be a subtle shift, or maybe everything feels exactly as it did before. It's all okay. And then I invite you to bring your palms together at your heart, and we're going to lift the arms up and overhead, and then out to the side, back together, kind of like a breaststroke in a pool. And what we're beginning to do now is we're also beginning to move the third region that has a lot of lymph nodes, and that's the region of the armpits. And for those of you who have had surgeries here or radiation, this may be a challenging region. And so work again with compassion and discernment. Maybe your range of motion is different than what you might see on the screen, and that's totally okay. So if your swim has to be with the arms more forward than upward, that's totally okay. We're not actually in the pool, so nothing's going to happen. And as you take this breaststroke here in the air, really drop your attention, your curiosity into the regions of the armpits. This is called your axilla, and so these are your axillary lymph nodes, and that's the region of the lymphatic vessels that we're kind of moving along now through the deliberate motion that we're making with our arms. And we'll do that a couple more times. And then you can take a rest. You can let your arms settle to your side. Maybe your hands come to your lap. And just let yourself feel into this region of your body, this axillary region, the upper arm, really essentially the whole shoulder girdle. And imagine lymphatic fluid moving where? Well, toward the heart from both sides. From the right, there's a slightly longer journey, but this is still where both sides go. If you would like to feel that and help that along with your hands, you could reach under your shirt if that feels comfortable for you to your skin, and you can stroke now from the armpit toward the clavicle, first on one side for 3 or 4 strokes, again very gently, and then on the other side, gently moving lymphatic fluid through this region. And if you have surgical areas here or radiation issues, be really extra gentle during when you're in those areas. Like, don't rub harder where you think you might have more lymphedema. Actually work lighter in those areas. And just know that lymphatic vessels regrow. They find new ways to drain lymph in areas where lymph nodes maybe have been taken out or vessels have been severed, either because of surgery or radiation. And then bring your arms, or your hands rather, to your shoulders when you're ready. If you want to continue working on the skin, that's perfectly fine. And use your little chicken wings here to bring a little bit more life into that region of the armpits. And all along, really imagine that movement, that healing action, as lymph is now moving from the region of the shoulders toward the heart. You've cleared that area, so there's lower pressure there, and so the lymphatic movement is toward the heart just naturally. We're also really starting to clear the area of the armpits now, and so the bent elbows that we have with our little chicken wings are also beginning to move lymphatic fluid now from around the elbow and through the arm. The next time you have your little chicken wings out to the side, leave them there, and then open and close your chicken wings a few times, and now you're deliberately moving the region of the elbow. We tend to have more nodes around joints, and that's deliberate, right? Because when we move joints, we compress nodes, we move lymph, and that's a good thing. You might recall that lymph fluid can only move in one direction, and it can only move from the periphery toward the heart, and there are little backflow valves in those vessels that prevent fluid that has already moved toward the heart from draining back to the periphery. It's a pretty ingenious system. But we can still help things along by allowing the lymphatic fluid to move with gravity, and so if you lift your arms up and overhead, then you could use the opposite hand now to brush through the arm, maybe lingering a little bit around the elbow, in the elbow crease, in the back of the elbow, and just a little extra care around that joint as you move fluid along here. A couple more times on this side. Draw all the way to the heart before you switch sides. If you turn your head to look at what you're doing, then you're also stimulating the lymphatic flow in the neck, because you're bringing a little bit of rotation into the neck, so you can kind of do double duty. Plus you can see what you're doing. You can be curious about your elbow crease and your elbow. How often do we look at our elbow crease? Probably not very often, right? So it's a good opportunity to meet your elbow crease and the back of your elbow and maybe your forearm. You might discover some things that you didn't know were there. And then brush through the armpit toward the heart and make some nice big circles here, kind of at the side. You don't have to drop all the way down and all the way up. It's kind of, yeah, exactly, little side circles like this. And now play with bringing other movement into the arms, the elbows. So get creative. We're all going to do this slightly differently, but the idea, right, is to move the elbow joints, the shoulder joints, and the wrists, and you could even add a little movement in the fingers. And now you're moving lymph through the entire arm. Not that you didn't before, but you're helping it along now. And that's the way to drain edema out of the hands, right, is to start at the center, not at the periphery. Because if you start at the periphery, but the channels are clogged, that fluid from the fingers has nowhere to go. That's why we start at the heart. And then when we finally move into these outer regions, that fluid actually has a place to go. And then you could be very deliberate about some hand movements. The more things you can do at the same time, right, the more is going to happen. Maybe pressing through in all directions, interlacing the fingers, pushing through, maybe circling the wrists, and then playing air piano. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. If you add the whole keyboard side to side, yeah, then it's not just the fingers, now you're moving your whole arms. I love it. That's just fantastic. Exactly, and that is exactly where we're headed next. What I see on the screen is this beginning movement in the waist. And of course, we know we have a lot of, and you could let go of the arms now, the hands. We're doing a lot at the same time, but begin to swing your shoulders side to side. So bring some rotation now into the midriff, this region where you know you have a very large collection of lymph nodes, because everything from the bottom of the body moves through the center, moves through the core, through this cisterna chyli. That's what it's called, this very big collection of nodes. And so when we rotate along the length of the spine, we really begin to move lymphatic fluid through the torso toward the heart. And we could move just with the rotation of the spine if swinging the arms is too much for you, or if it feels okay, then swing everything. And you could even make circles up and overhead. You can get very creative here. So we're not all going to do the same thing. We're all going to have our own way. And then as you do these rotations here along the length of the spine and you're feeling all this movement in your mid-region, you might also recall that one of the main ways we move lymphatic fluid through this middle part of our body is through breathing. And so we can intensify our breath by anything, right, that's kind of cardiovascular. And amazingly, it is cardiovascular exercise, so cardio, aerobic exercise, that helps lymphatic capillaries, these tiny vessels, regenerate. So getting a little bit out of breath is a good thing. So feel free, if you're not already standing, to stand and become active here, allowing yourself to move creatively. I'm going to get up too. And maybe you begin at some point to even add a little bit of movement through the hip creases with our, or one of my favorites, which is this knocking on the doors of life, where you gently tap one hand to the chest, the opposite side of the chest, and one hand to the adrenal gland on the back. These are acupressure points. And so you're combining things. And if you would like, as you breathe out, you could add a little extra oomph to the exhalation to kind of draw in through the stomach muscles for a little extra massage of the lymphatic vessels in the mid-region. Yeah, we're getting pretty cardio here. So if you need to take a break, take a break. And we are naturally now also beginning to bend through the knees, to bend through the hip joint. And of course, those are the next two regions that have a big collection of lymph nodes. The hip joints, those are your inguinal lymph nodes, and then the nodes behind in the back of the knee, your popliteal lymph nodes. And then you could slowly begin to let this movement get a little bit less. Maybe just start by letting the arms swing. And then at some point just coming into stillness and allow yourself to feel inward. I'm going to come to the knees. You don't have to do that. I just want my head back on the screen. And feel the vitality, feel the pulsation of life that's moving through you. That's the beauty of movement. Everything is in motion inside of you right now. Bringing healing, nourishing. Lymph doesn't just move waste and cleanse. Lymphatic fluid actually also distributes nutrients, especially like fat-soluble vitamins and fatty acids that can't be absorbed directly into the bloodstream. They move into the lymphatic fluid and then are taken into the bloodstream via that route. So it's also a beautiful way of moving nutrients around your body. And so when you stimulate the flow of blood and lymph at the same time, wow, you're really supporting healing and you're nourishing yourself very deliberately. And then when you feel ready to go again, grab a chair if you would like, and if you don't have one, that's okay, you don't have to have it. And we're going to take just a couple of little twists with a forward fold. So if you face your chair, or if you don't have a chair, again, you don't need it, you can use your legs. But with your next inhalation, I invite you to bring your arms up and overhead. And just once again, think about all the little lymphatic vessels that are now getting energized here to move more fluid toward the heart. And with your exhalation, bring the hands down and let the fingers come into the hip creases. And give a gentle push against the hip creases to kind of stick your butt out behind you as your back moves down in its natural curves. And this is now where your chair comes in handy, because you can put your hands on the seat of the chair if you would like. If you don't have a chair handy, you could bring your hands to your legs and hold yourself in this half lift that way. Or you could just let the arms hang and hold yourself with the power of your core. And now put your attention into the hip creases. You could even, if you don't have your hands on, if you can have your hands on your hip creases, you could take your thumbs and just rub them through the hip creases. And encourage a gentle stroking from the hip creases toward your navel. So, and yeah, we're doing this in a more difficult position, right? But we want the joint, the hip joint, to be in flexion. This is why we're leaning forward. If you need one hand on the chair, then you could have one hand on the chair, work with the other hand, sort of rubbing through the hip crease toward the navel, and then switch sides. That way you can distribute your weight a little bit more. So yogi's choice. And then at some point you can bring both hands to the chair. Let yourself rest here for a moment. And then bring your, if you have a lot of weight in your hands, unweight the left hand and just have some weight in the right hand, and of course your two legs. Let the left hand just kind of swing a little bit. And then at some point with an inhalation, let the left hand reach up and over. Your right knee will bend. And just be with that for a moment. Breathe here and feel how that changes, where you feel the breath in the belly. This will compress different nodes, different vessels. If you really want to give this extra oomph, you could do a bumblebee breath on the exhale. Maybe you felt how that drew your belly in. And then with your next exhalation, you can come back to center. Switch the hands. I'm going to just have a pretend chair. Bring the weight now into the left hand, unweight the right hand, and just swing the right arm for a few moments. Left hand can be on the chair, it can help carry the weight, and then at some point, swing the right arm up, left knee bends, and open up here. And think about which lymph nodes are getting a workout here, and you'll be amazed to realize just about all of them, right? And if you now add a bumblebee breath on the exhale, you're adding a little extra oomph. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine too. And then wait for an exhalation to return to your half lift. Take a round of breath here and tune in. And then from here, you can walk your feet a little bit wider apart. Hands either on the chair or not, it's up to you. And then squat. Just so that the thighs are parallel to the earth. And exhale up, inhale down. So now we're very deliberately moving a little bit more through the hip creases. So the hip joints, the inguinal lymph nodes, but also through the knees, the popliteal nodes. And imagine again that fluid moving upward. So the movement is upward. The nutrients are flowing upward. Everything is moving through your body, toward the heart, into the bloodstream, nourishing you, allowing you to flourish, to heal, to cleanse, moving waste and nutrients. It's an enormously effective and efficient system. If you would like, you could add the neck movements here by looking forward on the way down and looking down on the way up. And basically all of these big joints now are moving. even the ankles. Couple more times. And then the next time you exhale, be in your half lift again. Bring the hands to your low back one at a time, so slowly unweighting the hands, and then wait for an inhalation to rise up. Nice natural spine on the way up. And you could turn your chair around. I don't have a chair with a back with me. And have one hand on the chair, but you could also have a hand on a wall just to stabilize, or if you don't need the stability from a wall, that's fine too. And we're just going to take a few circles through the hip joint. And now see if you can do with the legs what you did with the arms earlier. So you can see bending the knee, circling the foot, wiggling the toes. With the legs, we can't do that with both of them at the same time if we're standing. But if you were lying on your back, you could. You could do what babies do. Lie on your back and do these funny movements with your legs. And you would really probably experience the joy that a baby feels when it does that. Be sure to switch the orientation of your circles at some point. Some of it will feel familiar and some of it will feel really awkward. And then whenever that leg gets tired, which might be by now, you can switch sides. So there's like no rhyme or reason here. You're just trying to bring as much range of motion into the hip joint, the knee joint, the ankle joints, all the little joints in your feet. That's the beauty of this work, right? Once you know what you're after, which is moving the joints to move lymphatic fluid toward the heart, you can get so creative in how you're doing this. It's like not a prescription for a particular movement. It's really a deep learning about how to support your body in the best possible way. And your body loves variety. It loves variety in food, loves variety in movement, loves variety in how you breathe. That all is a form of stress inoculation that really increases your resilience. And whenever that leg now becomes tired, you can let go of that movement and maybe shake it out a little bit. And we will end with our rebounding on the toes that you might recall from last week is so helpful for all of the entire lymphatic chain from the bottom up. If you have an actual rebounder or you have access to a trampoline, that's a great way to move lymphatic fluid. Because remember, once you move it up along the vessels, it can't flow backwards. Yeah, and I see some beautiful arm swings along with those rebounding toes. So feel free to do that. And have fun. And when your calves, those beautiful pumps, get tired or your feet get tired, you can begin to wind this down. You kind of need to begin to wind this down even if you're not tired. And once again, perhaps simply stand with hands to heart to feel life moving through you. Your entire system, it has been vitalized. You've moved fluid, you've moved blood. You've released hormones, you've released neurotransmitters. You might feel a little more uplifted even in your mood. You have given a lot of nourishment to all of your cells. Let yourself feel your vitality here, maybe just as you're beating hard under your hands. Check in yet again with your body, your breath, your mind, your feelings. The wisdom, that deeper intelligence that helped you become creative with these movements. And marvel at this human complexity, this human holism, this beautiful dance between body, breath, thoughts, emotions, wisdom, joy. And as you feel your heartbeat, your vitality under your hands here, or just pulsing through the entirety of your being, you might also notice how your body is naturally beginning to resettle itself, to move towards stillness. And so take this moment to ponder how you might like to place your body for our closing meditation. Whether you would like a seat or whether you'd like to lie down on your back. And then begin that transition in your own way, finding a supported seat or a supported lying down position, never skimping on props, blankets, pillows, whatever you have for this Shavasana. That really is one of the most important parts of our practice that allows us to integrate the experience, to integrate any new learning, to let our wisdom unfold. And so once you have found your chosen position, invite your body to release itself to gravity. Letting any muscles that are not necessary to work just simply release and let go. As your body is held by the earth that supports us all. Then release and let go of your breath, inviting the breath to breathe itself, animated by the flow of life force that moves through all of us. And gently surrender your mind, your thoughts, your feelings to your deeper inner wisdom that will guide you back to what needs coming back to later, so that for now you can simply let be what is as you release and let go of any clinging or chasing away of thoughts or emotions. Just let be. Deeply bow to your inner wisdom, to the seed of joy that you know is resident within you. As you move into about a minute of silence until my voice brings you back. And very, very gently invite your senses to reawaken to your outer and inner world. Perhaps noticing the sounds around you, the air on your skin, the support of the earth. Perhaps begin to sense inward into your physical being yet again, noticing if there might be a need for little wiggles or stretches, or simply for more quietude. Take a moment to check in with your breath, giving the inhalation your full attention as air travels in, and then giving the exhalation your full attention as breath travels out. If you are lying on your back, make a decision at this point whether you would like to stay there for a while longer, extending your shavasana, or if you'd like to close the practice in a seat. And if you would like to rise to a seat, this would be a great time to make that transition. And if or when you arrive in a seat, if it suits you, if it feels auspicious, you might place your hands yet again to your heart as you yet again bow your head to your heart, your deeper inner wisdom. And take a moment to tune in, to notice if there is a takeaway from class today. Something meaningful, something helpful, something you want to remember that you would like to take away with you. If there is such a thing, let it settle into your tissues. Feel how it felt in your body. Let it settle into your breath. Feel its vitality, its energy moving into your being. And let it settle into your mind. Maybe creating new neural pathways, new neural connections in your brain. And then perhaps let it settle into your wisdom by connecting it to your intention that you had set at the beginning of class. Merging takeaway and intention into a dedication. A dedication of the merit that arose from your time on the mat toward a greater purpose. And if such a dedication arises for you, you might choose to breathe it into your own heart with your next inhalation. And then to breathe it into the greater web of life with your next exhalation. And as always, thank you all so much for practicing, coming back to the mat every Thursday morning with this beautiful community. It's